The topic for today is e-way bill, that is electronic way bill. So this is not an entirely new concept. It was already prevalent in VAT system also. So in the VAT system also, this particular concept was already prevailing. That is the important point. So people think that it is a very brand new concept, but that is not so. Even before the implementation of GST also, various states in our country was following e-way bill system only. So just a recap. Let's see how the system was there in the VAT regime. Now, in VAT regime, what was the system and how was it? So, in VAT regime, there was a bulk trade happening. A bulk trade was predominantly happening through trucks. There was huge movement of goods through trucks, and that was the point which was alerting the government to track the bulk trade. So the government in particular wanted to track the movement of goods which was happening through bulk trade. So what did the government do? The government introduced the concept of delivery note. So this delivery note is required to be generated for the movement of goods which is happening. So the delivery note has to be issued, and it has to be provided to the VAT offices whenever required. So if the VAT offices stop the vehicle and require the transporter to produce the details of the delivery note, it has to be produced. And what happened? There was, since it was required to be maintained manually, check post formalities started increasing. So what happened? The waiting time of lorries in the check post started increasing at a very high rate. So there was undue harassment of the taxpayers. And since the delivery note was supposed to be maintained manually, it requires a lot of communication between the tax department and the taxpayer. So there was a manual corrections which have to be done, manual reconciliation was to be done, and whenever required, the proper information could not be immediately given to the department. So what happened? This was a very difficult process. This kind of manually maintaining the details was very difficult in nature. And hence the requirement of electronically maintaining the record was contemplated by the government. So from this stage, the next stage was electronically maintaining these details. What happened? Electronically these details were started to be maintained. Some of the states in the country started maintaining the electronic system, and the electronic system of maintaining the details of the transportation of goods was started. So the details of the delivery note started to be maintained electronically, and the person who is supposed to transport the goods need to maintain the records only electronically. Some of the states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu were maintaining this system. So e-way bill was started way before GST itself. That is, electronically, the server of the government, the details have to be furnished with regard to the transportation of goods. So this was a fairly successful practice. But what the problem was that each state had its own regulations, rules with regard to e-way bill. And therefore, what happened? It was not the same across all the states in the country. E-way bill was successful. Some of the states had implemented it. But what happened under the VAT regime was that e-way bill was implemented differently in different states. So the rules, regulations in one state was not compatible with another state. So e-way bill was there in states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, etc. So they were all fairly successful in implementing the e-way bill, but it was not the same throughout all the states in the country. Now, the next stage is GST regime. So from VAT we have gone to GST regime. So GST regime, what is the motto? One nation, one market. So what the government wanted to do, the government wanted to make the practice same across all the states in the country. So GST was implemented on 1st July 2017. For the first 3 months, the revenue was quite high. So revenue in GST for the first 3 months was quite high, and it was the learning period for the taxpayers also. So the taxpayers were learning lot of things, and they were knowing the nuances of GST very slowly only. So the government thought that implementing e-way bill at that point is very difficult. Why? The taxpayers were still grappling with the issues of GST, and they were not able to take the credit of the previous tax regimes, and hence the first 3 months revenue was quite on a higher side. But thereafter, the government gave lot of extensions with regard to filing of the returns, and the government is lenient with regard to the implementation of the rules and regulations. And as a result, what happened? Tax evasion started happening. Tax evasion is seen to be on a higher side without this e-way bill, and hence the government has planned to implement e-way bill from 1st February 2018. So from 1st February 2018, the government has planned to implement e-way bill throughout the country. And the point is, this e-way bill format and rules regulation is the same throughout all the states. This is the plus point. It will be the same throughout all the states of the country. So what are the benefits which will accrue because of this uniform bill, GST e-way bill, which is going to be implemented? So it will, because of this electronic way bill reduction, first main point is saving time. So it will save the time of the taxpayer because all the details are going to be given electronically. And e-way bill is easy to generate. How? It can be generated through web-based mode. It can be generated through SMS. It can be generated through API mode, Android-based mode. It can be generated by using the Suvidha providers utility. So the government has eased the way of generating e-way bill. It can be generated through different modes. So easy to generate. Next, it check the tax evasion. What happens all these days after GST implementation, there is no proper uniform e-way bill, and therefore what happens, tax evasion seems to be on the higher side. Now the tax evasion, because after implementing e-way bill, will start to get lowered. Next, you are keying in the details in e-way bill. So there is a separate portal called ewaybill.nic.in. So it is not the same portal as that of the GST portal. Very important. So for e-way bill, there is a separate portal that is called ewaybill.nic.in. Very important. It is not the same common portal as that of the www.gst.gov.in. That is a separate portal. This is a separate portal. But the information, basic information with regard to generating e-way bill and other details are taken from the GST portal only. So there is interconnection of the e-way bill portal and the GST portal. So the basic information necessary, what are the name of the person, the GST number, all this could be taken from the GST portal itself. There is interlinking of e-way bill portal as well as GST portal. So what happens? The GST portal and e-way portal will be interlinked, and thereafter the persons who generate e-way bill, and they can use the information for generating GST returns. So GST returns could be easily generated by using the information from e-way bill, because whenever there is a movement happening, we record the details, everything is given in the e-way bill portal, and GST1 whenever it is required to be filed, the details could be automatically pulled from the e-way bill portal itself. So very important, the GST portal is already linked to income tax portal, customs portal, and the ED portal, and it is interlinked to various bankers. So the information, there is exchange of information between the one department and another department. So here also with the e-way bill and GST portal, there is exchange of information. So GST one return could be easily generated with the already keyed in details of e-way bill. So what happens? You need not try to repeat the information same time. You can just pull out the information from e-way bill portal itself, and thereby it saves your time as well. Now it is helping saves the time of the department, saves department time also. So because everything is being automized, so it will considerably reduce the time of the department also. So the department time is also considerably being saved, and thereafter it is helpful for the department also. So saving the time of the taxpayers, saving the time of the department, it is easy to generate, it is having multimodal applications, it is checking the tax evasion, you can easily generate GST returns from the e-way bill portal itself. Now, these are all the basic benefits of e-way bill. Next, we come to the stakeholders. So, who are all the stakeholders in the e-way bill? First, the supplier of the goods. So, a supplier of the goods is one of the stakeholder. He has to key in the details of the goods, and the transportation related details have to be given. Second, recipient of the goods. Recipient of the goods is the second stakeholder. Number third, who is the third one? The transporter. The transporter is the third stakeholder. Number 4, the department. So there are 4 different stakeholders with regard to e-way bill. The first is the supplier, second is the recipient, third is a transporter, fourth is a department. So the supplier has to key in the details with regard to the movement of the goods. The recipient has to verify the details. The transporter should carry the details of the goods. Whenever asked by the department, he should able to provide the details. The department is the overall watchdog. So the department tax officers also need the details. So whenever required, it has to be provided to the department also. So 4 different stakeholders: supplier of the goods, recipient of the goods, transporter, and then the department. So it is a very comprehensive e-way bill system. Now, next point. Do you have to register separately in the e-waybill.nic.in portal? Yes. You have to take separate registration with regard to e-way bill. So in e-way bill, you have to go to that portal and get yourself registered. So when you take the registration, so what happens? You need not go through the cumbersome process again and again. You must have already keyed the details when you take the GST registration. That details will be useful when you register in e-way bill portal. So if you are a registered taxpayer, the details which you have already given in the GST portal will be used once again here. Why is that so? You need not key in again and again. The details are already verified in the GST portal. Same details could be used here also. Now, we know that transporter is also a stakeholder in the e-way bill system. Now, whether transporter need to get themselves registered? Yes. So, even the transporter is required to get registered. Some of the transporters might not have registered under the GST system. So what happens? Some of the transporters might have registered themselves in GST. Some of them might not have registered under GST. So whether he is registered or unregistered, the transporter should get himself registered under the e-way bill system. So it is very much essential to get the transporter registered under the e-way bill system. So that is very important. The under e-way bill system, the transporter has to get registered. So there is a separate option in the e-way bill system. There is a separate tab for the transporters. So the transporter, if he is an unregistered, if he is unregistered in GST, then there is a separate tab for the transporters whereby he can key in the details. Next is with regard to this registration. So the very important point is registration, and registration of vehicle is very important in the GST portal as well as in the e-way bill portal. So e-way bill portal requires registration of the vehicle. Registration of vehicle is very important in the e-way bill portal. Why? The government want to track the vehicle, whichever is carrying the goods. So registration of vehicle, the vehicle number must be registered, and the vehicle, there will be a transport ID will be given. So whenever movement of goods is taking place, without keying in the details of the vehicle, you cannot initiate a e-way bill. So registration of vehicle is very important. There will be a transport ID will be generated. You should key in the details of the vehicle which is carrying the goods. So vehicle is very important. Here it can be, the vehicle could be a truck or it could be any other modes of transport. So the vehicle's details must be keyed in the e-way bill. Now, when a particular officer is intercepting a particular vehicle, he might ask for details of e-way bill to the transporter, the person in charge of the conveyance. So, when asked by the officer, the person in charge of the vehicle should provide the details of e-way bill. So, what are the documents which have to be carried when a person is transporting the particular goods in a vehicle? So, normally when you transport goods, you have to either carry a tax invoice, or if it is not a taxable goods, you have to carry a bill of supply, or if it is a movement of goods which is not in the nature of supply, the goods can be transported just by using a delivery challan alone. So normally if it is a sale of goods, so there must be a valid tax invoice. If it is other than a tax invoice, a bill of supply is also accepted. There are situations when bill of supply is generated instead of tax invoice. So in that case, bill of supply can be taken by the person in charge of the vehicle. Suppose if it is not a supply, for example, if a particular goods is being transported for the purpose of exhibition and it is going to be returned. So what happens? It is not a supply. Just for the purpose of exhibition, the goods are going to be transported to one place and going to be taken back to the same place itself. If that be the case, you have to if you have to transport that goods with the help of a delivery challan. So normally, the person in charge of the conveyance have to either carry a tax invoice or a bill of supply or delivery challan. Over and above this requirement, he has to have a copy of e-way bill or the particular e-way bill number which has been generated. So, with regard to the conveyance, the person in charge of the conveyance must have a tax invoice or a bill of supply or delivery challan with regard to the transportation of goods, and along with that he has to take the copy of e-way bill, and whenever required he has to provide the e-way bill number to the tax officials. So this is very important. Now, what is the threshold limit? This is very important. Threshold limit is very important whenever any act is being enacted. So normally every act says there is a threshold limit beyond which you have to get registered. Beyond less than that, you need not get registered. So what is the threshold limit for generating a e-way bill? What is the value of the goods for which you have to generate the e-way bill? Now, as of now, the threshold limit is 50,000. So, whenever there is the value of goods is exceeding 50,000, when the value of goods is 50,000 or more, that is important, 50,000 or more, you have to generate the e-way bill. So, e-way bill is normally generated when the value of the goods is 50,000 or more. So whenever there is a transportation of goods, the threshold value is 50,000 or more than that, you have to generate the e-way bill. So normally e-way bill is generated not only for supply, but even for reasons other than supply also. We saw that even when you are transporting the goods for other state for with regard to exhibition and you are going to return back the goods, it is not a nature of supply. So it is just sending the goods and it is getting back the goods. So it is not in the nature of supply. Even then, even that for that purpose also, if the value of goods is going to be transported is exceeding 50,000, then you have to generate e-way bill. So normally e-way bill is generated for supply, yes. For reasons other than supply also. Reasons other than supply also, you have to generate the e-way bill. What is that? The example which I gave above. For example, you are transporting it for exhibition and you are going to take the same goods back. Even for that, you have to generate, if the value of the goods is exceeding 50,000, you have to generate a e-way bill. So e-way bill is very it is comprising of most of the transportation of goods. So going forward, e-way bill is going to be a norm for most of the transportation. But the government has given a specified notification, and in that notification there are certain goods which are notified by the government. So with regard to those goods, you need not generate e-way bill. Why is that so? The government has notified certain goods for which you need not generate a e-way bill at all. For example, raw silk, livestock. All these are all examples given in the set of goods which are notified by the government. It is available in the government website. So those are all the set of goods for which you need not generate a e-way bill. So some of the exempted goods are also covered in that particular long list given by the government. Otherwise, for most of the reasons, you have to generate the e-way bill. So this is very important. So normally this is what being told in a very broad manner. And what is the validity of the e-way bill? So for the how long, what is the e-way bill validity and how long it is going to be valid? So for the first 100 kilometers, it should be covered within 1 day. So this is what being mandated by the government. So when you are transporting the goods, so the first 100 kilometers should be covered in 1 day. And for the additional 100 kilometers or part thereof will be covered in another day. So first 100 kilometers 1 day and other additional 100 kilometers or part thereof will be covered in next 1 day. So this is what being told by government. So if it is 300 kilometers, it will be 3 days. So if it is 310 kilometers, so for the first 300 kilometers 3 days and for the additional 10 kilometers it is 1 day. So it is 4 days. So 100 kilometers for the first 100 kilometers 1 day, for the additional 100 kilometers a part thereof it is 1 day. So this is what being told as a validity. But there are certain exceptions. Why is that so? See, not goods, all goods are same. There are some inflammable goods, or there might be some dangerous goods, or there might be some heavy goods. So the nature of goods differ from one part to another. So you cannot classify all goods under the same category. Some goods can be immediately transported. Some goods may be brittle, and some goods may be very soft in nature, which requires great care while transportation. So there are, with regard to those goods, the government might give a specified days validity period. So not all goods are same. Therefore, you cannot put all goods under the same bag, and therefore for certain specified goods, this validity may differ. Why is that so? Depending upon the nature of the goods. So they might not be transported. It is very difficult for the transporter to cover it immediately and rush to the place immediately. It might be taking some time. For such kind of goods, this kind of there is separate notification. So there are some exceptional goods which will be notified by the government, and for them there might be a relaxation with regard to this validity. Next, there is another concept. This is e-way bill, and if you see the with regard to the e-way bill portal, you will come across another concept that is called consolidated e-way bill. Consolidated e-way bill. So this is also another concept which is being given in the e-way bill portal itself. This will be mostly useful for the transporters. So the transporter, he might be, when it is a big truck, he might be transporting goods of different consignors. So different consignors might be giving different types of goods, and it may be put in one truck and it will be going to be dispatched at different locations on his way. So there might be different types of goods which might be transported in the same truck itself. So what happens? The value of goods differ. The place which is going to be unloaded is also differing. So different types of goods are put in one particular truck and it is going to be carried forward. And with regard to the transporter, he cannot just like that generate one e-way bill for all these particular items. Therefore, this consolidated e-way bill is to be generated in that case. So, consolidated e-way bill is to be generated when there are different types of goods which are being transported in a same truck. There are different types of goods. There are different consignors. So, in that case, there can be one consolidated e-way bill. So, for each and every goods, if there is one separate e-way bill, it is very difficult for the transporter to handle it. Therefore, there can be one consolidated e-way bill which gives the details of all the goods which are present in the truck. So, it is a consolidated e-way bill. Next, there is another special feature of e-way bill. The e-way bill can't be edited. So it is very difficult. So what is it telling? When you are generating e-way bill, you have to be very careful when you key in the details. Because the once you are generating the e-way bill, you cannot thereafter after completely generating it, you cannot edit the details. So before you are punching in the details itself, be very careful and cross-check the details once again and before keying in. And you cannot edit the details once the e-way bill generated. This is very important point. So once you have generated the e-way bill, you cannot edit the details. But you can cancel it within 24 hours after generating the e-way bill. You can cancel it after generating within 24 hours after generation. Suppose you have generated it, but thereafter you know that that particular consignment is not going to be transported. Some reasons or the other. If that be the case, what you can do it, you can cancel it, but very well within that time limit. So it should be as early as possible. So these are all the basic outlines of a e-way bill. This is broad outline. So this is the first basic instructions and basic ideas with regard to e-way bill.